Om Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. We're reading from chapter 5, the Yoga of Renunciation of Action. Lord Krishna's answer to Arjuna's question: you speak so highly of knowledge, and still you also speak highly of yoga, and they look mutually exclusive. I'm either acting or I'm not acting. What is the right answer? And we saw that Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna, they are not different. They will both take you to the same goal. It's just a question of your qualifications. If you're qualified for renunciation, renounce. If you're not qualified for renunciation, please continue to act. You will reach the same place. And now, the last question that we might still have in mind, that Arjuna is still asking. So I'm acting. I'm accumulating more and more and more karmas by this action. What will my path look like as I'm doing all these actions with the goals of reaching the highest knowledge, but still, instead of liberating myself from samsara, the wheel of birth and death, the cycle of karma, I'm generating more karma that will keep me here in samsara. So what will that look like? How will I act without accumulating more karma? So of course, we already saw the answer to that in the previous chapters, but it's a very, very, very important point, and it's repeated again and again and again until we understand. And it is the essence of Karma Yoga. And it is described in verses 7, 8, and 9. 7. He who is devoted to the path of action, whose mind is quite pure, who has conquered the self, who has subdued his senses, and who realizes his self as the self in all beings, though acting is not tainted. 8. I do nothing at all. Thus would the harmonized knower of truth think, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, breathing. 9. Speaking, letting go, seizing, opening and closing the eyes, convinced that the senses move amongst the sense objects. So how this practice really looks like? Just like it was described in chapter 4. In action, in action. Doing everything with the realization, not the theoretical knowledge, the realization, I do nothing at all. It is the senses that are moving among the sense objects. In other places it's described the gunas as the senses interact with the gunas as the sense objects. I am the self, the non-doer self. This is who I really am. So my body is doing all those things because this is what I need to do to set an example for the masses. This is what I need to do if I'm still on the path to purify, to live a dharmic life. But I'm having the mental attitude of not doing. And as I'm doing all those actions, I'm doing them with a lot of devotion, purifying the mind, conquering my lower self, egoism, subduing my senses. I am in control of the senses, not they are in control of me. And realizing the self as the self in all being, realizing the unity in creation, the unity in diversity, though acting is not tainted. So whoever will act this way, although acting which seemingly will bring to him karma and will keep him in the cycle of birth and death, the exact opposite will happen. This person is not tainted, his mind is purified, and he's going to the goal, the higher self. Swami Shivananda tells us in the commentary to verse 7, he who is harmonized by yoga, meaning he who has purified his mind by devotion to the performance of action. So he's following dharma with devotion. Who has conquered the body, meaning the body is under control. The mind is under control. Under the control of whom? Of the higher self, discriminating. And who has subjugated the senses, it's the same principle, the discrimination, whose self is the self of all beings, who sees the ultimate truth, that everything is a manifestation of one and the same, which will be very beautifully portrayed also in chapter 11. He will not be bound by actions, although he performs actions for the well-being or protection of the masses in order to set an example to them. Again, this is a reference to what we read in chapter 3. So although externally it looks like we are accumulating karma, we are enjoying the fruit of the karma. In other words, we are involved in the worldly aspects of the world. Although externally it might appear like this, it is not the case at all, because this person who is practicing karma yoga is purifying, he's not accumulating karmas when he or she are in the state of realization that they are not the doers, and eventually they will do only to set example and to protect others. Like Lord Krishna himself said that this is why he's acting. This is actually why the avatar comes, because there is nothing for him to gain. But he needs to set an example, he needs to protect the good, he needs to help us find sustainability in dharma. So this is the answer to Arjuna's question. And more information about renunciation, what it really means, what it really looks like, and how this can bring us to the higher goal, comes in the next verses. Please join us for the next teachings. Om Shanti.